Welcome to our series in Illustrator Basics for our laser cutter here at DoSpace. For this video, I'm going to be talking about how to create objects using basic shapes and the pen tool in Illustrator. So for the laser cutter project that Maker's going to make this month, we have a small icon that's reminiscent of Carrie Fisher's Buns in the movie Star Wars, her hairdo in the movie Star Wars. And I created that with basic shapes in Illustrator and using the pen tool to manipulate a few things. So I'm going to step you through how to do that, as well as show you also how to create a heart. So let's actually start with the heart so that we can kind of see how we might go about this. So I'm going to use the shape tool, and I'm going to pick an ellipse, and I'm going to hold down the shift key while I'm drawing my ellipse, and that is going to create a perfect circle. And right now it is filled with black and has 0 stroke. I can see that right here. I'm going to go ahead and, just so that I can see things, I'm going to swap these so that I've got 0 fill and black stroke. When I set this to engrave on the laser cutter, I'm going to want to swap them back so that there's no stroke and it's black fill. So we got our circle here. It's a perfect circle, and with a perfect circle, I've got 4 individual points. So I've got a point here, a point here, a point here, and a point here. And I'm going to use these 4 points to manipulate this circle into a heart. So I'm going to go to the pen tool, and I'm going to click on that. And underneath the main pen tool, there are 3 other tools. And I'm going to choose the anchor point tool. And right here at the bottom, I can see one of those points. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that everybody can see it. Right here, there is a point. This little dot here is an anchor point. And I am going to turn, there's curves on this anchor point. I can see that by using the direct selection tool, finding the point. And I can see that there are curves on this anchor point because I've got handles. So if I grab the handle and manipulate it, you can see that the curves move. This is how you control curves in Illustrator. So let's undo that by hitting Control Z, Command Z if you're on a Mac. And I'm going to go to the anchor point tool, and the anchor point tool is going to allow me to get rid of the handles and get rid of the curves. So I click that, and immediately I now have an angle. And I've got a teardrop shape. I'm also going to do that actually on the top. So I've got sort of a rounded diamond. Then I'm going to use the direct selection tool, and I'm going to drag this down to the middle. So I've got a pretty good start to my heart. And now I just need to manipulate the handles to get the curves the way I need them to be. So I'm going to use my direct selection tool, click, and I'm going to grab the handle and expand up. Kind of move it. I'm just eyeballing it here to get it about the same height. So that's pretty good. I think I want that. That's a little too deep. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to just move this in. Now it's just a matter of manipulating those anchor points so that I've got a heart shape. So let's do this. There we go. So we started with an ellipse, and we converted that into a heart by just manipulating the anchor points that are on each of the on the object. So we're going to do about the same thing for our Princess Leia buns. So I'm going to start with the circle, and then I'm going to come over here to the shapes, and I'm going to use the rounded rectangle tool, and I'm going to start by drawing a couple of rounded rectangles. And this is really too rectangular for me. So while I'm drawing, I haven't let go of my mouse. While I'm drawing, I'm going to hit the up arrow on my keyboard, and that is going to round that rectangle even more until I get sort of a pill shape. So that looks more like space, like her little space buns. So I'm going to move this kind of so it's intersecting. And then I'm just going to make a perfect copy of this one. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard and drag. Come on. Alt key on my keyboard and drag. You can see I get a double arrow there. That means I'm making a perfect copy. And then while I'm dragging, I'm going to hold down my Shift key so that it stays in alignment. And I'm going to try and get, there we go, about the same amount in. All right. So I've got the start of my basic shape, and then the last thing that I need to do is sort of do the dip in for her bangs. So again, I'm going to find the anchor points, and there's an anchor point down here. I'm going to use the anchor point tool and remove the curve. Not like that. And then use the direct selection tool to move this up, kind of try and keep it centered, and sort of just like we did with the heart, I'm then just going to manipulate that. Oops. So I have something that matches. All right. The very last thing I want to do is I want to combine all of these shapes together into one object. So I'm going to select them individually by holding down the Shift key as I'm clicking on them. And then I'm going to come up here to Windows, and I'm going to select Pathfinder. It's going to pull open this palette, and I'm going to use the Unite feature, and that unites it all together. If I switch back to black, fill and no stroke, and there we've got our Carrie Fisher Princess Leia space buns.